What's up, guys? Finally, back on the Buick. Even though I really didn't know if I was going to be doing this today. I have a lot of stuff going on. If I wanted to make videos of tearing Silverados and donor cars apart and scrapping them out, I could probably put a video up every few days. But I don't think anybody wants to see that stuff. So, let's get back on the Buick. Alright, so we did in the last video the front brake lines. Now, I brought this axle used, and they cut the e-brake cables, and it's been sitting around for a while. And when I pulled the drums, it didn't look real good. Everything's kind of rusty. So, gonna rebuild them. Gonna do everything, and I still need to order my new axles. This was a fun project going to a 5-lug, but I didn't really zero in on my tolerances to try to make it something to drive. So these are not good enough for for driving down the road, but they're certainly plenty fine for moving the car around, and that worked great. All right, so let's see. I ordered all my parts. Let's see what I got. All right, so we got this box of stuff from favorite place to order parts, Rock Auto. Can order this stuff, go to work. By the time I'm done with my work days, I come back, my parts are here. And I'm a regular customer. This is just part of one side. So here's my my new sticker. So we'll put that right down there. Very nice. All right, so what did we order? Brake fluid. Nothing special, just .3 fluid. This works good. I've got, those are going to be the shoes. These are going to be, what are these? AC Delco parts for a Ford. Those are e-brake cables for inside their axle hardwares. Those are going to be wheel cylinders. These are going to be hardware kits. And these are going to be e-brake cables. Is that everything? Look at my bill of materials here. Yeah, we got the brake fluid, just drum brake adjuster cables, shoes, hardware kits, wheel cylinders, and parking brake cables. Well, I ordered everything against an '88 Ford Mustang GT, Fox body. That should be good. All right, let's get started. So the first thing I'm going to do is to rebuild these rear brakes. Even though I don't know Fords, drum brakes are all pretty similar in the way they work. There's a couple little differences. You have springs used to pull the shoes back and return them. Let me lower this lift down so it's a little bit easier to see. Okay, there we go. So we have return springs to pull the shoes back in after you step on the brake pedal and push the wheel cylinder out to expand them. There's an adjuster on the bottom that's always dirty, and I'm going to have to clean it up. I don't know if the hardware kit comes with those. Usually they don't, and it's usually not a problem. They just come apart, clean them up, and he sees them, and good to go. These springs here are used to hold the shoes onto the backing plate. And what this has that GMs don't have is that cable that you saw that I ordered. It's a rusty, very rusty cable now that runs down around this and connects to the guy here that rides on the adjuster, and that's for the self-adjusting brakes. So when you back up, it'll turn this and ratchet it, and I think it's seized right now. They always are unless you use anti-seize on them, and this keeps it from unadjusting. And other than that, the only thing I'm going to mention, actually two things, I guess. I'll talk too much. For drum brakes, there's always a primary and a secondary shoe. If you notice, this lining here is only that wide. Okay, and then the rear, it's, again, my fingers crossed to get in the camera, it's all the way like this, from full end to end. So the primary shoe is always going to go to the front. You can put them on backwards, so try not to. The short lining goes to the front. That's the primary shoe. The other thing is, of course, now everybody has a phone, so you can take a picture of this as you disassemble it if you're not sure how it goes. But the rule of thumb, at least how I've always done it, is only do one side at a time. So when you have parts skewed all over the place and scattered all over the floor, and you don't remember how it went back together, you can look at the other side and save yourself. But now everybody's got cameras, so who cares, right? Just take pictures as you're going. Okay, so first thing, get this thing apart. Gotta take these brakes apart. So the way I do it is, rather than make a total mess, first thing I do is remove the springs that hold the shoes to the backing plate, and then I can try to take them off as an assembly. I don't have the special tool that removes these, so what I usually do is just grab the hat that's on top of the spring with a vice grip, turn it, push it in and turn it 180 degrees, and release it. The only problem I have with this is these Ford brakes are only 9 inches. So there's not a whole lot of room here to get this apart. But there she goes. So it's usually pretty fast. And I think the shoe is, or the spring is stuck. I want to show you what the parts look like. Oh, that's, okay, there we go. Okay, so we have this nail that goes through the backing plate. Then you have your, it goes through the backing plate, through the shoe. Then you have your spring. Then you have this guy here with the hole in it. It fits on the nail. And then you turn it 180 degrees and it locks it in. So that's what holds the spring in. So you have 2 of them, one on each one, and usually these springs are a different design. The nails are the same. What I'm going to do right now is go set these on the table as I disassemble this, so I don't lose track of what's what. My safety glasses are in bad shape, but I'm wearing them anyway. Okay, there's the other one. Again, the spring is stuck to the shoe, but I'm going to leave it there. This makes it easier for me to keep track of what's what. There's the nail. Okay, next thing is these release springs. These springs here that, what do we call them? Retracting springs, I guess. I'm going to get behind the one and get it off. Okay. Here goes. And then I've got the other one here. They make a special tool for this. Just one of those tools I just never had, and ever since I was a kid, I've just always done it this way. There's that adjuster cable. Now, the reason I take it apart like this by pulling those springs off first is now this is pretty much an assembly. And I can take the whole thing off like that. And try to keep track of how it's assembled. I'm going to try not to take too much apart. But again, it's a Ford, and I'm not sure, so I'll probably have to take it apart, or rather I'll have to look at the other side. Guy. All right. There's going to be a spreader bar up here between the shoes with a spring. Sometimes the way they're made, just note which way is which, right, left. Springs on the left, so I'm going to set it on the bench like that. Hopefully I'm getting this on camera. The adjuster fell on the floor. It is in fact not seized, which is nice, but we'll still clean it up and get it good. Okay, now we have this craziness here. So we have a couple things. We have this e-brake piece here that locks into the rear shoe. Got that guy. We have the assembly here with the cable that runs down to this adjuster, which is just hanging in this hole here. So I'm going to lay this on the bench like this, so I don't keep losing any track of orientation on this. Okay. This is what's called the bat wing. Piece right there. Get that out of the way. Alright, and then we've got this guy, which is for the e-brake cable. I'm just going to push on the spring and get that off. And that'll be for the hook to the new e-brake cable when I get that in. So put that over there on the bench. Okay. So, all that's left here now, and hopefully I got that. It's hard to work with by myself, but all that's left is the wheel cylinder, which is this guy here, and the e-brake cable, which I'll just push on those tabs in there and release that and get that out of there. And the reason I'm replacing the wheel cylinders is because it's been sitting with no lines on them and things just look rusty up there. It's your brakes. It's not worth screwing around with. You can rebuild these easy enough too. In older cars where wheel cylinders may not be as easy to get, usually you can buy rebuild kits and they're very easy to rebuild. One thing about wheel cylinders, these seals here on the outside, these are only dust seals. If you pull a dust seal and see fluid anywhere, then it's junk or it needs to be rebuilt. There should not be any fluid outside of this. And this guy here is stuck in there pretty good. So there's no signs of fluid because there's probably been no fluid in this thing for a decade. I don't know. It's pretty scummy looking. All right, so I'm going to unbolt the wheel cylinders. Don't think I can get a camera on that, but all there is two bolts here, one here, one here. Take those bolts out, the wheel cylinder will pop out toward the front. We get that out, get the parts on the bench. Okay, so wheel cylinder is removed, e-brake cable's removed, and before we clean this off, I'll just, if you'll notice, let me turn this light off up here. You see the three shiny points for each side? Those are where the shoes actually ride on the backing plate. So what you want to do is, after wire wheel this all up and clean it all up, or hit it with a wire brush, whatever you want to do, put some high temp grease on those 6 spots. Not a whole lot, just enough, and that'll help the shoes move back and forth and not hang up or get stuck. Just a little tip. All right, let's lay out the new stuff. Okay, one last look at the original stuff, and you can get a real good look at why, when I saw it, I said I need to replace it. Everything's pretty rough, but everything's laid out basically as it was removed. That'll help me put it back together, but like I said, I'm not touching the other side until this side is done. Let's just make sure I don't mess anything up. And a couple little things here. For e-brake cables, if you want to remove these easily, put a small worm gear clamp on these things to surround the little tabs there. Just crunch down on the worm gear clamp to compress those, and they come right out. I use them all the time. Anytime I use e-brake cables, anytime I replace e-brake cables and have to get them out, those tabs can be a real bear. Little worm gear clamp takes care of it, no problem whatsoever. And again, here's another look at our wheel cylinder here. Again, these are just dust seals on the outside. I'll see if I can pop one off and show you what the real seals are that actually hold the fluid. Okay, I just popped the dust seals off the ends of the wheel cylinder, and you can see the crustiness in there that should not be there. I'm not going to be able to get this apart. One side is definitely stuck. One side turns, but I could put air pressure on this and it'll blow those things out of there, but I don't really want to make a huge mess right now. Just trust me. If you see brake fluid in this area, there's a problem. Shouldn't be in that area. It should be all contained inside. So I'm glad I bought new ones. I think they were really expensive too. I think they might have been $5 each. So yeah, they're a real budget buster. So we're going to throw these things in the garbage and stick with the new ones. Okay, now I think we're finally ready to start looking at some. The next day, didn't get much done first day because there's just too much to do and not enough hours in the day. So just went through new parts. This is what you'll run into. Again, these are the brand new shoes. They're obviously just come in a bag, and like I said before, you have a primary shoe with a shorter lining and the secondary with the large lining. If you look at these, you know, the metal mounts, they're exactly the same, and that's why you can install either the wrong way, like secondary shoe in the front, which is wrong, or I've seen two primaries on one side of the car and two secondaries on the other side of the car, and that's not right either. So primary short shoe toward the front of the car. Next thing, I have my new wheel cylinders. Always a good idea to match them up to the old one before you commit that you're done and you're going to be able to do the job. These look good, so the old ones are going to get thrown in the scrap. That's that. So the hardware kit that I ordered comes with new return springs, new spring for the spreader bar, new springs to hold the shoes in place, new nails, new caps for the springs, and a new return spring for the bottom. It also came with this little clip, but I don't think that's going to be used in this application. I've seen that on GM cars for the arm that attaches to the e-brake cable. Speaking of that arm, that's there. The arm, the spreader bar are a couple things that don't come in kits, so you have to clean those up and reuse them. I also have some other things here I'm going to use that I just quick wire brushed and just sprayed so they're not all dirty. And that's the guide for the e-brake return cable. And this is also part of the adjuster system, and this is the adjuster. There is adjuster kits, or are adjuster kits available for sale, but I normally never need them. I just clean these up. If they're stuck, free them up, clean the threads, and I put high temp grease on them, or anti-seize, whatever you have, just so the adjuster works easily and doesn't hang up. The only other thing I bought, which was separate, was this cable here for the e-brake cable that rides on that guide. Again, all the e-brake adjustment stuff I did not buy new and just reusing it except for that cable. So with all that said, I think it is time to assemble this. Oh, I wanted to also say one of the reasons I do try to keep these shoes assembled as an assembly, I should say, when I remove them, is I can match up the springs. So when the kit comes with new springs, I can just match up to what was already on the brakes there, and I can tell what one goes where. That's how I know the red one here goes on the bottom, the green one there is going to the top left, and the white one on the top right. Just another thing, makes it a little easier to get the job done. Alright, so first thing I'm going to do here is put a little high temp grease on the 6 pads. We're going to start on assembly of these brakes. So a week ago I wire brushed this backing plate, gave it a quick spray, and put high temp grease on the 6 pads where the shoes slide on the backing plate. And the first thing for this assembly is going to be installing the new wheel cylinder. Okay, so first thing to do is install the new wheel cylinder. As long as it fits. As long as it fits. Let's see. Got the original bolts. Set it in there. I don't know. Let's see. Should fit in there pretty good. Pretty snug. Not move around. Okay. Snug them up. And at a later point in the series, I'm sure I'll be making e-brake cables to attach to that. So I'll show you some easy ways to make your own e-brake cables. But this piece, best just new. Get new. Look at that. Wasn't that easy? Nothing to it. Alright, so next thing I'm going to start working on will be the secondary shoe side that attaches to the e-brake cable, because there's just more to deal with here. So this is what I'm going to mess with. So first thing, I have this arm here that's going to fit inside the shoe, and then this shoe like that. Alright, but my e-brake cable has to attach to this arm, so I'm actually going to put the e-brake cable on that first. Slide the spring back on the cable. Like that. Now the cable's hooked on it. And then this is going to hook in like that. Alright. Next thing I'm going to do is get the mounting nail and spring for this shoe and get that installed. Leave it hanging and we'll get the parts. Alright, so to mount the shoe to the backing plate, I have my nail, spring, and the retainer. The nail is just going to fit through that like that. Let me get prepared, because I'm not prepared. With the wrong tool, which is a vice grip. It's not the right tool, but it works. So I'm going to use it, because that's what I have. So the nail is going to go into the spring like that. Okay. Then the spring goes here, which you can't see because I'm blocking it. The spring goes there, and then this retainer has to get on the nail. So I got to rotate the nail so it fits, give it a little quarter turn, and she's on. Alright, make sure it's all nicey. Okay, that's how it's going to be. Once the return springs are on, it'll hold it in place, but that's how it's going to sit. This is going to be up against the center post. This piece is in on the wheel cylinder. And now we move to the next part. Alright, so next thing I'm going to do is the same thing for the primary shoe. I'm just going to get it installed with the nail and the spring. You probably can't see this because of where the phone is, but it's the best I could do and not completely block it. So primary shoe, put it through the shoe. You idiot. Okay, let's drop it. Let's make a mess. There's oil on these things and it's making them slippery. Alright. Spring, hat, get it lined up with the nail. Sure you will. Give it a twist, pick it off the floor, Okay, let's try again. Can we do this now? I don't know. Is it going to be one of those days? Well, I hope not. Let's see. There we go. We're getting there. Next thing I got to put in, that maybe I should have put in first, maybe not, I'm going to find out, is this spreader bar with this spring. Spring is going toward the primary shoe. How do I know that? Because I left the other side complete. So, following my own instructions saved me. Because it's been a week since I took this apart. And I don't remember. Right, there we go. Okay. Spreader bar is in. Looks correct. Matches the other side. Things are kind of floppy until you get the return springs on. Get that to where it's supposed to be. So, all right. Next thing is the bat wing. This guy here, he's actually going to go up like that. Next, in this case, I have my cable for the e-brake. This is something that's not on GM systems. But we got this guy here that fits in the bottom shoe, and this cable that actually hooks on it goes behind this retaining spring. I think. Nope. I'm missing the other piece. Again, another reason to keep the other side together, because I don't know Fords. Alright, so I've got this guy. This is a guide for the cable. And this just fits in the shoe like that. The cable goes from the bat wing around the guide and down to this guy. Look at that. Look at that. Just like that. That's how that works. Okay. Everything just sitting here loose. I can do the retaining springs for the shoes that'll start locking this stuff in together. So the first thing I'm going to do is look at the other side and see who goes where. Who goes my green spring. I'm going to hook that there. And then I'm going to get another wrong tool. Screwdriver and get this over this like that. See the sparks? Just realized I don't have my safety glasses on. So this spring goes in like that and then is going to go over top of the other one. Alright, so same thing again, wrong tool, but the right tool, that's what I have. And we're going to pry this up and over, like that. Don't worry about that. Alright. If this is helping anybody, I'll be surprised. But, you know, is what it is. All right. So, just giving an overall, springs are seated good. My spreader bar is seated good. The shoes are aligned. I lost my piece here. It goes there. Let me show you what it looks like so far. All right, so here's where we are so far. We have the primary shoe in the front, with the short lining, secondary shoe in the rear with the longer lining. These are the retainer springs, and there you can see how the hat has a slot in it for the nail. So you push it over the nail and then rotate 180 degrees, locks it in place. Same thing for the back. Up top, return springs. Well, we have the spreader bar we can talk about first. That's inside there. That's this guy here. That's the spreader bar with the spring, and that comes across over here, and it's seated into the shoe and that e-brake arm. It's notched to fit them, both of them. And then up top we have the bat wing, which is the black piece. Primary and secondary shoe return springs, the green and the white. And my confusion on which was first was because on the other side they actually have them hooked across each other, so it was hard to see which is which. I don't really think it matters much, but I put the primary first and then the secondary afterwards. But underneath them is that cable that runs around this this guide here, and will run down to this piece here, which is still loose because I have not installed the you see the hooked in there. Have not installed the adjuster yet. So the adjuster should be the last piece. I'll go take a look at my pile of parts, and unless I forgot something, adjuster system should be the last thing. All right, looked in my pile of parts. Looks like I am successful. So all that's left are a couple things. This is the return spring for the adjuster, so we're going to need that. And this is my original adjuster as well. And what I did was I took that apart and greased the threads so it works nice, and I'm going to shorten it up as much as I can. So my method of doing this is to start with the spring before I put the adjuster in. Now, because of this is a Ford and I'm not sure, I got to go look at the other side and remember what's what. These Fords are difficult. So what I did was I actually unseated the primary shoe to push it rearward, and now let's see if I can get the spring hooked up in where I need it. Not easy because this thing is just coming apart. Maybe I should have stuck with a GM rear. Let's see. I think I got it. All right, we got it. And then I got to push this shoe back into position where it belongs. Okay. We got it. Not real easy, but I got it. That spring hooks up there like that onto that pivot piece. Okay, with the spring installed, woo! Sure it is. With the spring installed for the adjuster, all that's left is the adjuster. And they're always seized. These things are always stuck. So took it apart, greased the threads, and also this end. This has to be able to turn. That was also seized. All right. So first thing I'm going to do is just shorten it up like that. And again, this has to turn, and this turns. And then I'm just going to install this. It notches, the notch on the adjuster fits into the shoes. I'm going to spread this by hand. Get it in there. All right, get it centered. All right, and that's how it works. Now, the way this works is you have this tab here which rides on the star wheel. When you back up and hit the brakes, the star wheel will turn down, which will expand the shoes until they hit the drum, and then this piece here will keep the star wheel from going up and backing off. So we have to adjust these brakes. That's it for the assembly, but they have to be adjusted. So put the drum on. You know, fits easy. Let me adjust position on this camera, phone. Drum right now. Drum fits on very easily, off and on, which is not what you want, because that means there's too much gap. So I'm going to turn the star wheel down a few turns, do it again, turn it some more. Still easy, and I'm going to keep doing this until I'm bored. No. I'm going to keep doing this until the drum just slightly drags. I think we're there. Final, adjustment is once you have the car running and back it up and hit the brakes, it'll adjust. But you don't want to start with the adjuster all the way released, otherwise you'll be doing this for a long time. So that looks pretty good. Feels pretty good. Okay. I think I'm going to end this video here because I just don't have time to do the rear lines right at this minute. And tomorrow's a swap meet, and I think there's a swap meet like every weekend for the next month. So I'm going shopping. So we'll end this here. Hopefully it wasn't a total waste. Somebody learned something. And the next video will be to finish up these brakes.